Are you ready to take your regenerative journey to the next level? Over the last few years, I've had the pleasure of interviewing extraordinary guests for this podcast, and now I'm thrilled to be able to bring their world-class knowledge and experience directly to you through our first ever online webinar series called Your Regenerative Journey. It all kicks off on the 16th of August. Whether you're just starting in regenerative agriculture or have been on your journey for a while, join us over a span of 8 weeks as we tap into the knowledge of this exceptional group of speakers as they share their wisdom and expertise. Join Katie Zerner from RCS Australia talking about visions and goal setting. Delve into the world of soil health with world-renowned Nicole Masters. Discover the power of natural sequence farming with Stuart Andrews. Explore the realm of regenerative animal husbandry with Dr. Cherie Gooding. And join Brian Warburg in unlocking the potential of holistic farm management. Dive into the connection between food, nutrition, human health and regenerative agriculture with Cindy O'Meara, and explore with Kim Deans the intersection of regenerative agriculture and financial business health. Included in the webinar series is the opportunity to join a number of our guest speakers here at Hannah on the 13th of October for a farm tour, feast and day of further sharing of knowledge and experience. Regardless of where you are in the world, if you can't join us live, you'll have exclusive access to all our webinar recordings, content and resources on an easy-to-navigate platform. So don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. To be kept up to date with information on our webinar series, join our community today by visiting our website and signing up for our newsletter, charliearnott.com.au. And let's reimagine agriculture now for our future generations.
Grounding is really about, I like to do the things that bring me back into myself. So I like to cook. I like to be near my children. I like to be in a family dynamic. I'm always grounded when I'm walking and having that time to myself, and, walking and thinking just brings you back into alignment. That's as simple as it is for me. From wherever we are, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, recognising their continuing connection to this land, its waterways, the stars in the skies since time immemorial. We pay our respects to the elders, knowledge holders, and to all the generations of First Nations peoples who have nurtured their unceded sovereign lands for over 80,000 years and continue to do so today.
G'day, I'm your host Charlie Arnott, an 8th generational Australian regenerative farmer. And in this podcast series, I'll be diving deep and exploring my guests' unique perspectives on the world so you can apply their experience and knowledge to cultivate your own transition to a more regenerative way of life.
Welcome to the Regenerative Journey with your host, Charlie Arnott.
Hello, Angelica.
Hello, my love.
We're away.
Up and running, far away. We are that.
As is my style to just...
I know, launch in, calling. It's a bit hard to just get in the mood when you're in your tracksuit and sitting in a very overly lit fluoro lighting.
Well, these fluoro lighting, these fluoro lightings are actually special ones. I can't remember what they're called.
The good ones.
They're
LED.
Yeah.
Good for your brain.
Well, they don't fry like the normal fluoros. They've got some sort of different gas in them.
Yeah,
so they're
and these ones are okay, but they don't make you look... They're not terribly flattering.
No. Anyway, enough of the preamble.
Hello.
Where I have convinced you to, in a somewhat of a rush, but you're always up for a challenge.
Sort of.
Join me for episode 1 of season 7 of the Regenerative Journey, and we're sitting in the Hannah office. Without videoing it this time.
Yep, because I'm in my tracksuit and I don't have any makeup on, and I insisted that's the only way I...
And I dressed up and I did my makeup and everything.
Been doing the compost.
I have cutting wood. So let's kick it off. I was just hoping to join, because we had such a lovely chat in episode 1 of season 6, and then your episode, I think, was in season 5, your particular one. And so on the back of those and some really good feedback. And then also you were interviewed by Stephanie on the Motherland, her Motherland podcast recently, well, about a month ago.
Darling Steph Trethui. That's a tongue twister.
I know it is.
Isn't
It is. I'm not even game to
Trethui.
Yeah,
pronounce. She's awesome.
It was a really good yarn, and some really good feedback I got and you got.
Yes, I guess what she's doing is quite amazing. Like, she's bringing, mothering in the country which is not, for the faint-hearted. She's bringing a collective together, and it's pretty powerful stuff because it unites people in many ways. Yeah, it's an awesome podcast. If you're not tuned in, I'd suggest
Motherland.
you do. Yeah, not just to my episode, but certainly
Yeah,
to all the
there's some
amazing
there's a
women.
lot. Yeah, and she is fantastic, as is her husband Sam, who we must go and see down there in Tasmania one day when we get
I'd
ourselves
love
together.
to meet up with her. I think we did
Get a
sort of make a
Winnebago.
loose arrangement to connect somewhere along the way, which I no doubt will happen.
We'll get there.
Yep.
And you actually, just on that, while we're talking about ladies, you had listened to a very good podcast. Sounds like a bit of a plug for podcasts generally, but why not?
Why
Bit
not?
of cross promotion.
a world we're in.
You started listening to a really good podcast recently in the last few weeks, didn't you? And it was about ladies, and it called Smarter Than
so
Me.
wonderful. Wiser Than
Wiser Than
Me
Me.
by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And she interviews older women, and it's just so fantastic the way she engages with them, firstly, because she's just a fabulous person herself. But the people that she's interviewing, so enlightening and just so beautiful to get these pearls of wisdom from women that have, done the hard yards and have so much great stuff to impart. It was just beautiful listening. So if you haven't tuned into that one, I recommend that one highly.
I do too.
Good.
I've only listened to bits and pieces that you've
it's
been
really
listening
good.
to as I've
Well,
walked in and so on. It sounds fantastic.
It's probably where I'm at the moment. It's just like taking.
Where
all
are you
the
at? Where are you
goodness.
at the moment?
Well, I'm just looking at, I guess, and we were always assessing stuff, aren't we? We're always assessing values. We're always assessing beliefs. We're always assessing our current situation and just making sure we're on track. And I guess that's something that you and I do, whether we're doing it together or separately, we do tend to do that a lot. And it brings up a whole lot of stuff every now and then. And something that was triggered the other day when we were visiting our accountants.
I wonder if our accountants listen to this.
Oh, well, we better tell them to now that I give
Well,
them their plug.
no. Now that we have actually mentioned them, then that's the bait. If we don't hear anything from them, then it's like,
All right, moving on. No, they're great. And that can tend to be a bit of a boring day, but Ben, our accountant, did mention something about, I don't know, I can't even remember the context, but he did talk about the foundation stone for what we were doing. And as soon as he said foundation stone, of course, all my, senses went crazy because I was reminded of the beautiful Steiner foundation stone meditation. And I've drifted away from that a bit, and it brought me right back to that place where I consider that meditation a bit of a prayer to the soul. And it always gave us great grounding for when we were feeling a little out of whack, and going back to that and then sitting in that accountant's meeting and having that thought kind of made the day, elevated the whole thing in a way that made me feel like we've got to question more about everything. And I felt that was, a trigger. So the last few days I've been a bit in that headspace.
Around foundation stone, because it was something that you were much better at it than me, reading it once a day, wasn't it?
Mm. Well, we did it when we would all...
Spirit man.
That's it. But it is a beautiful prayer, and it does connect you to that soul consciousness, and that is a beautiful place to be. And when we're all, in this hectic lifestyle that we're in, when we can kind of find the balance in that space and think about our life and where we're headed, it helps us make decisions in a much more grounded way. And that I find very balancing.
How do you ground yourself?
Well, that's a good question. I think for me, grounding is really about, I like to do the things that bring me back into myself. So I like to cook. I like to be near my children. I like to be in a family dynamic. I'm always grounded when I'm walking and having that time to myself, and, walking and thinking just brings you back into alignment. That's as simple as it is for me. And I'm sure, you have your way, which is... You got to tell me, because I don't. God knows you're such a whirling dervish. It's hard to.
Well, no, it's a very good point actually, because I don't know that I do have many grounding habits. I mean, I'm talking about grounding. I've been rounding. We did that wonderful meditation retreat.
How good was that?
With Nico Plowman and 20-something other people, which was amazing for 3-4 days. And as part of that, well, it was mainly around rounding, which is like an hour-long what would you call it? It's
asanas, and then you just slip into once you've done your exercise.
But in terms of the modality, the Ayurvedic is a kind of thing, wasn't it? It's sort of like it's basically 20 minutes of yoga, 27 minutes of yoga, a bit of a lie down, some breathing exercises, 20-minute meditation, another 10 minutes lying down. It's about 60 minutes, and I've been doing it every morning except for the 2 days of travel I did to New Zealand recently. The day there and the day back I didn't.
Well, you've got the 108-day challenge to continue.
Well, actually, yesterday and today, the other 2 days I haven't done it, which is a bit rude. But it was grounding. So I've been doing the rounding every morning for an hour early.
Has that helped? Has that made you feel?
Yeah, I think it has. Like I did. Yeah, it sets the day up really well. My head's quite busy when I'm meditating or doing the breathing and so on, or even within that period of yoga, because I can't just like close my eyes and be fully
present.
Or
not
transcending into God knows where. No, I actually find it's and this is kind of what I got from Nico at different times during the retreat, is that it's okay that your mind wanders, and sometimes that wandering can actually unearth some very interesting things, and I find that when I'm doing meditation, that 20 minutes of this 1 hour, my mind wanders, but I'm actually having some really interesting thoughts, because I'm still, I'm stationary, it's sort of somewhat expansive in the thinking, but some really, I call them good ideas, I don't know, but certainly some interesting thoughts and I guess ideas, exploring them in some of those sessions. So I guess that's a grounding thing. I'm reading Atomic Habits at the moment, that's one of the habits I need to get into, is read Atomic Habits every morning for 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. I'm reading a bit of Marcus Aurelius, his meditations at the moment as well. The other great book, and I guess these are grounding because I love reading, and I find it very grounding.
Yeah, that's true.
And any sort of last thing at night or first thing in the morning is Kings and Grass Castles. Oh yeah. And they mention the Burua. There's a Burua connection. The Duracs, one of the Duracs, Darcy Durac settled the Burua. Lots of tragedy in those early families, pioneering families. God. Lots of children who didn't make it, and accidents and all sorts of things. So and then they moved. At the moment, they're up in the sort of Cooper's Creek area in I guess it's Queensland, South Australia, up that way anyway. And then I'm not quite up to where they get to the Kimberleys and Bope and all that.
It's fascinating, isn't it? And like you said, a lot of tragedy and a lot of hardship, and how they survived that. Think about it.
I know, it puts things, a lot of things in perspective. Just make sure you speak. Sorry, no, that's all right. Just make sure you capture your beautiful voice there.
What we've been going through the last few days without gas, without Wi-Fi, without phones. We had 2 days down where we
had no phone,
no comms.
We had to go to the top of the hill to get even like a skerrick of phones. Didn't always work on the top of the hill.
And then the wind howling down the phone, hardly hearing a thing.
And our gas ran out on, was it Wednesday?
Yeah, we haven't had gas for a week, so we've had no hot water. And I felt like I'm camping at home, which is hilarious.
We've got a little
cooking on a camp oven.
Camp cooker, a little gas one.
But somehow I felt that, that hasn't been a problem. And it's, again, part of the thinking that we've had this week. It's part of that, well, here we are. What's driving us? Why are we here? All of that stuff. And part of, shaking it up, part of, things happening that throw us out a little bit. Always wondering what our plan B is. Like, what is our next move? Where are we going next? And when what is convenient and habitual, suddenly stops, you just have to really regroup with yourself and work out how you're going to navigate that new territory. And that's where we've been this week. I've
been sharing up here in the office,
and I've been dishing in the bath and
with your kettle,
with the kettle. Yeah, exactly. Birdie baths for me, and I'm quite enjoying it really, because it feels a bit like camping. Yeah. But again, like I said, I think it's part of that. Just be prepared for anything mentality. And
good for the kids. I mean, not that they've noticed a hell of a lot, except the house is cold, except for the rooms of the fires. A couple of heaters have pilfered. But good for them, though. They haven't missed a beat. Yeah. There's no whinging and going, let's just put another jumper on if you can keep a jumper on Lordy.
Yeah.
Back to foundational stuff, grounding. Yes, just habits, getting into some good habits, a bit more exercise, a bit more other things, and really reassessing. I'm in a bit of a reassessment phase of my life at the moment. Not life, that sounds a bit dramatic, but just of the year, and we're nearly halfway through the year, and it's gone really quickly, and April's a write-off. Easter, the school holidays. Like if you don't get stuff done by March, you forget it. You're not going to get anything done until May. That's a really good lesson Charlie Perkins told me that we mentioned the other day.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like you just got to assume nothing happens in April. Don't plan anything. Get your things done by March, and then we're coming to June any minute now. When you guys hear this, we'll be in June, so we'll be amongst it. But I'll put some time aside in June to have a bit of a regroup, which I think is necessary, and just to reflect and regroup and get some foundational things bedded down and priorities and all those sort of catchphrases and things. But I think it's really important.
And tell me the flavour of your guest this season. Do you have a direction?
That sounds like a planted question, but it wasn't.
No, it was not. No. I'm interested to know what areas are you covering this season?
Yeah, well, quite a few actually. If I just look through the list there, we've got Alan Parker, who we've done a couple of negotiation toolkit works. Yeah, Pinky. He is so
powerhouse. Pinky.
He is so good. He's a classic. I caught up with him at the Gold Coast, or Tweed really. Clive Bertram, dear friend of ours, who...
Oh, that'll be fabulous.
Yeah,
I'm a bit biased, though. I love Clive. So.
Well, Clive got you to Landmark, didn't he?
And
that's where we met, so I've got to thank Clive a lot for that.
He's had such an interesting journey. He'll be fascinating to listen to. And he's
sort of done full circle. He started on a farm in WA and he's went out to the world, did all sorts of stuff, and he's kind of getting back to farming.
Yeah, great. Good one.
Jeff Ross at Lake Hawea Station. I was only over there a couple of weeks ago.
Lucky you.
Yeah, Jeff was fantastic, and his story of from marketing and vodka making and now farming is pretty interesting. Johannes Meyer up there at Danthonia in Inverell, the Christian community. Is such a lovely bloke and some really interesting insights, because Hamish and I did a 2-day introduction to biodynamics workshop the day before and the day of. And then we poodled down to this beautiful dam, and there's a little hut there. There's no power.
There you go.
There was no power, so we got a generator, and then the generator stopped working, and we had to get another generator. It was a classic. We lost about 20 minutes in the middle of it.
Survive in the harshest conditions. It
was so, and it was raining.
You haven't had a shower for 10 days. Come on.
No, I've been up here.
Yeah, sure.
And then that was fantastic. And then and it was raining and it was noisy on the tin roof. John Grant, who I met a couple of years ago doing a series of farm field days up in the Northern Rivers. Lovely, funny bloke. Such a nice guy who is a soil scientist at Lismore Uni, or Southern Cross University up there at Lismore. I actually don't think we talked much about soil. We did, really? But we talked about landscape and such an amazing bloke. Oh, talking about soil, I did interview Nicole Masters the other day, and we spoke for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and we probably spent 10 minutes talking about soil. And she's world renowned for her soil, right? She's the soil siren.
Where did she go? What?
We went to Indigenous pyramids. We went to Bigfoot.
Oh wow!
You know what Bigfoot smells like?
No, like dirty socks.
No, burnt hair.
Burnt hair. Okay.
Burnt hair.
Why?
Don't know. Maybe it's when they pop in and out of the different dimensions. I don't know. Yeah. It was so broad, and it was great because it was.
Oh, was it funny? I just got a waft.
Burnt hair.
It smells like burn.
My socks.
It's your socks.
They're not on the microphone for a change.
Oh, that's weird.
The just on Nicole, because it was interesting. We sat down and I kind of briefed. I don't brief my guests a hell of a lot because I quite like springing stuff on them and seeing where it all goes. But she said, now you're not going to ask me about my life, are you? Because I just...
That old chestnut.
I'm a bit sick of that.
Yeah.
She didn't say a bit sick of that, but she just said, and I went,
she must do a lot
totally.
Interviews, and it does become a little bit boring.
Yeah, there's only so many times you can regurgitate something and make it sound...
You want to shake it up a bit.
So having taken, and I said, well, look, it's funny you say that because this is really about your life. But anyway, we kicked it off and we touched on her life, obviously, but wasn't any chronological order to it, and it was just touch points and stories and experiences and waxing lyrical. It was such a good yarn. She's such a good chick. John O'Frew's caught up with him in Tasmania recently at his farm. He's just about to take on and do some farming work and partnering down there. Lovely, lovely bloke. Such an amazing story too. They all have. Kim Dean's up there near Tinga, near Inverell. I caught up with her when I caught up with Johannes there, and she's all about biodynamics, soil, human health, farm finances. She's fantastic. Actually, I'll get to that in the webinar series we're doing shortly. Scott Gooding, chef, caught up there with him in Sydney at Wild Beach. we started talking about ghosts as where we went.
It's wild, isn't it?
Yep.
It really is like
a door opened,
isn't it? You go in thinking you've got to fix one thing, but you come out realising you've got a million more to get through first.
Well, we just, hi, how you going? Welcome to the Regenerative Journey. And there's a door behind us moved, or down the side of the thing. I said, does that door usually move? And he goes, no. Yeah, we got you talking about ghosts. It was great, and I think it was a good sort of a relaxer for him. Rachel Pomeroy, who is the partner of Peter Proctor, who was in the wonderful film One Man, One Cow, One Planet. Peter passed away a few years ago now, and I saw Rachel met her for the first time at the Biodynamics workshop. The Biodynamics New Zealand conference that I was very lucky to attend and asked to speak at recently, and she's fantastic.
How old is
good.
She?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't ask.
She's
not young.
No, that's right.
She's not young,
okay.
but so vital. Oh, totally. And it was a short one. I actually did it as part of my presentation. I had an hour and a half to speak, and I said, how can I gobble up an hour and a half? So I had a chat with her for 20 minutes of that.
The only reason I asked that is just the wisdom of the elderly, as we were talking about
I'll
before.
go back and do a full one.
She must have so much.
So much.
Intel.
And so articulate and star law. She's a bit of a star law guru.
Right.
See, that's just like, what does that mean?
I have no idea.
Star law.
What does that mean?
Lore, I suspect.
As in the law of stars?
Law as in not LAW, but LOR. Yeah, so probably like Indigenous law, star law, what things mean, where things are, the history and so on. Right. So I'm keen to catch up with her about that. Shanna Wan, who I caught up with at her little beautiful church she lives in, deconsecrated now, who her husband Tim's great-grandfather built. And they found their way, I think it's great-grandfather, found their way back there, beautiful little spot, and we had such a good yarn. It was pretty funny because Tim turned up and then he left, and then the dogs ran away, and it was interrupted in a really lovely way. And I've got a few more to do. Jade Miles down there at Blackbarn Farm, that's in a couple of weeks' time. And Dr. Max Culhane down there at Albury, he's only not long moved to Albury, so I'm going to be catching up with him while I'm in the hood as well. And so that's going to be fantastic when I go down there in a couple of weeks' time. I think that's pretty much maybe just about it. Maybe
quite a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, maybe Stu and Luke from Integrity Meats.
Good luck for the season. I would like to wish you well. And I think it's going to be a almighty one. I look forward to listening to all of your exciting guests.
I do too. And the other one is our webinar series. Just a quick wrap for that. We are launching at the end of July. And it is over 7 weeks now, actually. We've added another speaker to the list. It's basically it's called Your Regenerative Journey, and it's covering a myriad of, at least seven different sort of aspects of not just regenerative farming, because we're not pigeonholed just like, you got to be a farmer or a gardener and grow food. It's like regenerative living. We're starting with Katie Zerner from RCS to talk about visions and goals. Nicole Masters is going to join us and talk about soil health. Cherie Gooding's going to talk about animal health. Kim Deans is going to talk about farm finances and profitability and all things dollars and cents in relation to farm. Brian Wahlberg, the champion holistic management facilitator practitioner, is going to be who's just always around Australia non-stop teaching, and we've got him for a grazing management module. Stuart Andrews is going to talk about landscape function, and he's obviously a natural sequence farming expert. And then last but not least, Cindy O'Meara is going to talk about human health, nutrition and all things, people health. That's it. That's covered them all. It's going to be so exciting. It's called Your Regenerative Journey. Go to charliearnott.com.au if you want to just put your name down to be notified when the tickets are opening. And you can buy yours and buy them for buddies and turn up. It's all going to be online. We've got a new cool platform we're going to be using for that. There'll be some other things that you'll get from each of the different module facilitators, the speakers, the experts, and we are dead set excited to get that out to the world as a bit of a taste for things to come that we're thinking about in terms of education platforms and regenerative living and regenerative farming. So that's very exciting. Let's wrap it up. That's 23 minutes.
Well done, you.
Lovely to have a chat with you again.
Yeah, nice to see
Get you to sit here for
overly lit
a minute. Overly
so cute.
Overly lit on a Sunday afternoon. And this will be going out in a couple of weeks' time, I reckon.
I look forward to it very much.
Yes.
And I'm sure all of your listeners will too. Well done.
I hope that's all I was supposed to say for this one. I'm sure I've probably forgotten something.
Sign off now.
I can. I'll look forward to this, kicking off season 7 of The Regenerative Journey. And next week on The Regenerative Journey, I am pleased, thrilled and excited to announce that the soil siren, Nicole Masters, world-renowned Nicole Masters, will be joining me as my guest. I caught up with her when she was out here in Australia some weeks ago. Luckily had a few hours with her. It was an absolute cracker. Can't wait to punch this one out next week and for you to tune in, because you're going to learn a whole lot of stuff outside of and beyond the world of soil, which we didn't really talk about very much, interestingly enough. It was a lovely chat with Nicole Masters next week on The Regenerative Journey.
This podcast is produced by Rhys Jones at Jaeger Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe, share, rate and review. For more episode information, please head over to www.charliearnott.com.au.